Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have a very inspiring show coming right up with special guest, Tammy Wise, and she's here to share with us her new book, The Art of Strength, Sculpt the Body, Train the Mind. Now, Tammy is an author, certified private trainer, and group fitness instructor who is a professional dancer on Broadway. She has certifications and licenses in reflexology, Chinese herbology, acupressure, Eastern nutrition, and meditation, and was ordained as a Tao minister. She's nationally recognized as a mind-body fitness expert, and her work has been published in the New York Magazine, Dance Spirit, Body and Soul, Mind, Body, and Spirit Fitness, Natural Health, Longevity, Shape, and Time Out New York. This manual won her a Transformational Author Award, and she has blogged for Medium, Thrive Global, and Martha Stewart's Whole Living. So let's welcome to the show, Tammy Wise.
Thank you very much for having me.
What an honor it is to have you here to talk about this book. My goodness, it is filled with so much information.
Yes, it's quite the manual.
Well, it's a great one at that. So I've got to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I am a child of an abusive sexual experience with my dad. It was 3 years of sexual abuse that made me very collapsed in my physical body. And the tension that I was wrestling with was pretty severe. And when he would come into my room at night, I would pretty regularly disassociate into a place that felt completely aligned between earth and sky. I felt like my bones were literally stretched between earth and sky. And it gave me a sense of belonging and relevance that I was not experiencing in my regular life. So I decided to go to ballet class to learn to stand in this alignment on purpose instead of by accident. And in the doing, I came up with what I call now body logos, and it's a way of aligning between earth and sky where you can begin to have a relationship with your bones and your muscles separately so you can begin to break apart or dissolve the tension template that can often guide you through life.
Oh my goodness, how impressive is that? Because how often, everyone goes through trauma, and a lot of people experience some type of sexual trauma when they're younger. A lot of people, it's just trauma altogether. And to have a thing that you can use a process you can use that will actually help you move through that. How empowering is that?
Yeah. And whether you've been through some sort of trauma of any kind, or it's just levels of disappointment, your body still responds in the same way. So this is not certainly just for sexual abuse. It's for any kind of tension template that is making you respond to life in a way that you would prefer not to. So it's a way to create positive change in your life.
Well, we can all use some of that. We look at, you look at our lives and it's just like, we're overstressed, overworked, if we're not even talking about trauma, and, to be able to get to a point where you can relieve some of that. That's so important.
Yes.
So you talk about that there is, when we look at strength and tension, people are often confused by the two of them.
Yes. It's interesting. They're both on the same line in the way that I think about it. Tension is energy-based, but it's static. Strength is energy-based, but it's fluid. So you can transform tension into strength by giving it a little nudge in the right direction so it can become part of your workforce again. But the real key is to be able to align your bones bones with gravity so that you have a source energy supporting you. You're plugging into a source as opposed to just using up your personal resources. And if you can align the bones properly between earth and sky, and then begin to notice where the muscles start to pull you out of that alignment, and pay attention to what those muscles are trying to tell you. They're really, your whole tension template is filled with information from your past, whatever is unresolved from your past. So your tension's cry has a wisdom that we need to be listening to, not just trying to squash it down and make it go away, but to actually listen to it with empathy and consideration and interest.
So, when we're feeling different areas of our body that are in distress, it could be tension, stress, whatever the case is, how can people identify what it is that they're feeling?
So, pretty much the way you would describe a certain part of your body is very helpful in telling you the nature of the problem. In my book, The Art of Strength, I believe it's page 12, there is a psyche muscular blueprint, which is mapping out what muscle groups carry which emotions due to how those muscle groups help you survive and thrive in the world. And so once you have that piece of information, so say your tension is in your shoulders. That's a very typical place people hold tension. Your shoulders are the widest part of your skeletal frame, and they're the integrity of your posture. So when your shoulders are tense, you may be questioning your value, questioning your integrity in the eyes of someone else, or questioning someone else's integrity. So they're the judge. We're often very hard on ourselves and very hard on others in this subject matter. So if the pain feels like it's sharp and acute, chances are there's some sort of judgment going on that's sharp and acute that is a little out of alignment. If it's a dull, achy feeling, this is some sort of devaluing that's been long term. You've been carrying it around with you for a while. This isn't something new and fresh. This is long standing. So the different qualities and the location are the two levers that you're looking at to try to analyze what your tension is saying from a physical point of view.
Well, that's so important, knowing that and being able to kind of dive into just the questioning of what our body is going through during that specific time.
Yeah, yeah. There's also a way of dialoguing with your pain, which is just staying very open and curious about what the sensation is, and asking the sensation what it's trying to tell you. What does it need? And see what kind of response you get back. It can be a very interesting conversation.
I don't know. Maybe our bodies are a little sassy. I guess we'll have to figure that out, right?
It does have its own intelligence, very separate from the mind. Mm-hmm.
Well, and speaking of the mind, you really dive into that in the first chapter, and you talk about how just life practice starts from the inside out. Why did you start there?
Well, I suppose I start there because that's where it started for me. Probably more practices start from the outside and come in, and you first get the choreography, and then you start delving in deeper into the choreography. But in my experience of coming to this information, I started on the inside. I found this alignment that was truly coming from the inside out. And so I had a feeling inside that I was trying to find the physical alignment that would help me create that deliberately in life. I knew it was attached to my physical body, but it started as a feeling sense. So it's a very sensual practice. You're always in feel as opposed to in think. So it's learning to be in feel and with the body versus in think and thinking that the mind is always what tells the body what to do. In this practice, you're really gaining a reverence for the body's intelligence, not only the mind's IQ.
Well, it brings to, just thought a lot of people get to this kind of self-talk where they, are in disagreement or don't like their bodies. So really getting to that place where you could be quiet and hear what the body's saying, I think would really provide a lot of information.
Yeah. Yes. And you start to be in a relationship with your body instead of just in judgment of your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this is a it's a lifestyle posture. It's a strength training practice, and it's a self-analysis system that changes the way you feel physically and emotionally.
So as people are starting this process with the mind, you talk about meditation and that quieting process and also connecting with the body. You have several different types of meditation that people can do to kind of get in tune with themselves. And why is that? Is that so that, maybe some people resonate with one type of meditation versus another?
Well, the whole premise of Body Logos, which is, as I said, the name of my practice, and it means the body's divine wisdom. So as you isolate muscle groups in the gym, say you're doing abdominal exercises, your abdominal muscles are your center of gravity. It is where you're going to connect with the very essence of who you are. So it's a time to come home to yourself and feel who you are and who you're becoming, and to be in the moment with that timeline. Very often what our mind is doing is we're thinking ahead. We're creating who we're becoming versus really being in each moment as we come upon it. And so meditation is all about bringing you into the moment. So it doesn't mean you can't still be in the moment while on a trajectory to your hopes and dreams, but you're in the moment experiencing and appreciating where you are now in that process of becoming. So while you're doing your abdominal reps, you're filling it with this appreciation for where you are in your process right now.
That's so beautiful. You talk about this emotional connection with the body. So how do emotions, and this can seem like a really basic question, but maybe some people are going, okay, so how do my emotions really play into this whole concept of body logos?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. And it is basic, but it's what's not really understood or known. The body's soft tissues, these are muscles, sinews, organs, is where our emotion is stored. So we have an event happen, and our mind remembers the details of that event, while our body's soft tissues store the emotion that we experienced at the moment of the event. So to create change, you can't just change the belief that your mind took on in that moment to make sense out of what you were feeling. You have to do both, release the tension that keeps that belief running and transform the belief to represent where you are now. So you don't have to keep living your past. So change, positive change, is a mind-body practice.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so you talk about this relationship between the mind and the body. So we look at the mind stress and the body's tension. How do those two things have a relationship?
Well, like I said, in the moment of a trauma or a disappointment, two things happen. We have a physical reaction that is tension based, and we have a mental belief that's constructed to make sense out of what just happened. So we're having a physical and a mental response to the happening. And we can just go along our whole life and keep living that script. And unless we do something to intervene. Now, there are somatic practices, there is psychotherapy, there are dance therapy, there's all sorts of ways you can go about doing this. But the important thing for me to convey is that you must, to create change, you must work with both the mind and the body to change both the belief and the tension template. So
that makes sense.
Both your so your thinking and your feeling have to come together into alignment. Until they do, they're still going to be in an inner war.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that, because I was going, okay, I know this is simple and you're the person that can answer these questions. So you also talk about emotions in the book and how fear and anger really impact the body. And I'd love for you to expand on that for our listeners.
Yeah. So fear, for example, lives in your low back. Specifically, it lives in your kidneys. You might notice anytime you might get nervous, maybe it's public speaking, or maybe it's a first date or a job interview or whatever. You always want to stop by the ladies' room right before you have to make your appearance. Or when you have a new puppy, when somebody comes to the door, they pee on the floor, right? Like this is so the kidneys, I mean, there's all this evidence to show you that the kidneys is where fear is held. And it's been known through Chinese medicine for centuries that this is where the emotion of fear is held. So when it comes to the musculoskeletal system, the kidneys live in your low back. So low back pain is referred pain that's coming, that very often is coming from the kidneys, the tension of the kidneys from fear-based emotions, which we can walk around with certain levels of tension chronically. So it will affect the low back and possibly other areas as well. So it's really unresolved emotion, no matter where it lives in the body, if it's based in anger or fear or uncertainty or sadness, it doesn't really matter what the emotion is. If it's held in the soft tissues as tension, there's a misalignment between who you're being and who you want to be. So to bring that into alignment requires a little bit of delving into the tension. I mean, what makes you aware that there's misalignment is pain. So pain is not something to dismiss. It's something to come into conversation with.
That's really interesting. So it really is kind of a marker in our road for us to pay attention to what's going on.
Sure. It's like a baby cries to let you know it needs something. It's the only voice it has. And our bodies have pain. A happy body is a body you don't feel.
That could have its own issues, I'm pretty sure. Well, and on a happy body note, how about someone's enjoy? What is that like for the body?
Well, if there's no problem, there's no discomfort. So like I said, the body is not getting in your way. So the body becomes part of the elevated experience of joy. Now, people can also be hyper joyful, which isn't always fully an honest joy, and that hyperactivity can create problems. But let's just say it's nice, balanced, beautifully aligned joy. Your body will go along for the ride and it will be energized. It will be naturally aligned between earth and sky without you needing to deliberately create it, because you're not fighting against anything. It naturally wants to be in alignment with gravity. So that's where you get your greatest reference points to what proper alignment is. When you're happy, get really curious about how your body is standing, where it gets its support, where the differences in your posture actually are. Like, what feels different right now than it did, last night when I just had an argument with my boss or whatever. It's a great time happiness is a great time for recognizing reference points, because it's naturally aligned. You're naturally aligned then.
Yeah, most people never even think to check in with the body during that time.
Yeah, they only check in when it hurts.
Yeah, I know. Then you're like, ooh, what happened?
Right.
Like, why am I in some kind of disarray here? Well,
and that's what I mean. That's what I mean by a happy body is one that you don't feel. It's not in your way.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about checking in with, that time and just seeing where things are, because it really gives you a reference point.
Yep.
Yeah. So when we talk about physical posture, I know you consider this the root of vitality. Why is that?
Well, I touched on this earlier about plugging into gravity as a source energy. So gravity is a universal energy source, and the universe is infinite. We are a resource. Our mind and body die. And so if we can plug our mind and body into a source energy to revitalize our resources, it's like plugging your cell phone in, or your computer, or your refrigerator. You're plugging into a greater life force. So there's just the nature of energy. There's the spiritual energy of it as well. I would say my relationship with gravity is one of a spiritual nature. When I am aligned and plugged into gravity, I feel like I'm a part of something bigger than me. I'm a part of creation. And this gives me a spiritual relevance in the world. When I'm aligned, I don't question whether I'm good enough. I feel relevant. I never need to question it.
What a beautiful place that's, coming from, and it has me thinking, what is the foundation of your spiritual thought process in life?
Well, as I said, as a young girl, I was really riddled with tension. But when I had these disassociated experiences, I think that spiritual connection is what motivated me not only to move forward with my dance training and developing body logos, but it's what gave me the spiritual, let's call it backbone, to have stayed as positive, and it got me through those dark days in my childhood. It really was my saving grace. There was a gift in what happened to me here. And I really think that's the root of all healing, is to find the gift in whatever the traumas are in your life, so that you don't have to run or hide from it, but in fact, you can make peace with it. You can find a balance in it.
And it's not often that we hear people talk about, finding the gift in the traumas. And I really appreciate your perspective on this because it is coming from such an empowerment place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I went to dance class to find how to be in this spiritual place on purpose and not by disassociation. And through the dance classes, I ended up on Broadway at the age of 19 years old in a chorus line. And I became so good at it that it it became it's how my whole life evolved, It put me on a path of discovery and vocation that has been so wonderful. I've always felt so connected to what I'm doing in the world. I've never felt like I've been working for someone else. I'm always working for a greater and greater connection with creation. I'm always on that spiritual journey because it started from the inside out.
I love that. My goodness. Just a great message for people. And it has me kind of thinking too, a lot of people have different definitions of strength. And I'd love for you to share us what your definition is.
Yeah. My definition of strength is being able to connect with a resistance, create an intended change without compromising yourself. So maybe you want to pick up a heavy dumbbell and do a few bicep curls with it. And that's great, so long as you don't compromise the alignment of your body in relationship to gravity. As long as you can maintain that and make sure your muscles are working for your bones, not the other way around, then you're in good standing. It doesn't matter if it's a physical, like my book is basically a fitness book. Let's call it a fitness spiritual book. But you could use the same idea when up against an emotional challenge. So, your posture always responds in a deflated way when you get emotionally triggered. So rather than aligning with the muscular tension that brought you down, align with your bones and get yourself back up and address the emotional concern from there. So you're not in it. You're able to be outside of the emotional reaction, watching yourself.
I like that. That really comes from like an observer position,
Yeah.
and as far as just being in the mud with everything.
Yeah, you can't create change when you're in it. You have to be able to step out of it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I know in your book you talk about how less is more when we talk about strength training.
Mm-hmm.
What's that all about?
Well, in part, it is don't pick up more weight than you can maintain in your skeletal alignment. In that way, you're just really defeating the purpose. You're creating tension in your joints rather than strength in the belly of the muscle. And it's not all about brute strength. You've got gladiator strength and you've got ballerina strength, two very, very different looks. And so one really finds their strength by way of alignment, which is the ballerina strength or the martial arts strength. And the gladiator strength is so brute strong. He uses his weight and his muscular ability to get past a challenge, to get to the other side of a challenge. But I'm not always so sure that gladiator strength is not creating a disruption on the inside of the body. So like how they say with a punch, you can only punch someone as hard as you can withstand the impact. So the impact on the bones, when your muscles are stronger than your bones alignment, it has to create some sort of internal, further internal misalignment. So it's difficult for you to find peace in that kind of strength. So I'm always looking for the kind of strength that brings about this feeling of relevance and purpose in the world.
Yeah, we kind of brought this full circle in many ways with your book and the discussion that we're having. How difficult is it? We've talked about strength, we've talked about, tension, all that. How difficult is it to change the patterns that tension creates as we go along our journey?
It's not difficult. It requires, however, interest. It's a life journey to be in therapy with your own body. So I basically look at my own body as my therapist. It knows me better than anybody. So if I'm going to confer with somebody, I'm going to confer with my own body around areas of my life that feel misaligned. So it's not hard work to check in with your body, but there is a due diligence. You have to make sure that you do it. It's like everybody knows posture is good for them, but do they actually practice proper posture? So that's where the challenge lies, is giving, and I really think this is based in recognizing the value of your body's intelligence. It is not just your brain's ride. It is an active participant in becoming who you want to be in the world. Anything that comes from a feeling sense, empathy, sympathy, compassion, team building, anything that's relationship oriented with clients or within an organization, all comes from being able to access your body. These are feeling senses. It's sensual, not thinky. It's not thinking, it's feeling. Anything that's feeling comes from the body, not the mind. The more access you have to your body, the more inner space you create in the body, the more access you have to that intelligence.
So I know that you have this program called Correcting the Computer Crunch. What is that, and how can people learn more about that?
Yes, I think I'm changing the name to Peak Performance Posture.
I love it.
Yeah, I like it too. It is, you can come to my website, bodylogos.com, and there's a page of work with Body Logos, and you will find the description of the program there. But the whole idea is to come into a corporate environment anywhere people are sitting at computers all day and work with their alignment as an energy movement. There's a lot of articles that are being written about comfort at the workstation. And all of these are working with ergonomic ideas. Stand stations, make sure you take a break this often, make sure you're sitting properly. There's all of this stuff. And there's still a piece missing. And I think the piece that's missing is this personal tension template that comes into the workplace that we tend to disassociate from. We try to just leave it at the door and then pick it up again on our way back out. But by the time we leave work, it's annoyed at us for abandoning it all day. And it shows in how our body feels and how we feel about our jobs. So I think it's really important that people learn how to be active in their seat. Keep your energy moving. This alignment with gravity is both a groundedness from your center of gravity to the earth and an uplifting from your center of gravity to the sky. So your energy is split between earth and sky, and it's constantly running through the body. So you are in movement while sitting. And I would say it takes about 20% of your attention to put on your physical alignment, and 80% of your attention can go into whatever you're doing. So it does not get in your way once you learn it. And because your body is constantly in motion while you're sitting still, you don't need as many breaks. You can keep working a little bit longer. I'm not saying that, and you can do, like, I have these desk timeouts that you can still be working, but doing something to your posture that creates a little bit more movement even still. But this program is to help people be able to be more productive in the workplace, so they can work less hours and get back to their families and their lives and not be tied to the desk for 12 hours a day versus 8 hours a day.
Yeah, how important is that? My goodness, Tammy. Where can our listeners connect with you and be part of your community?
If they come to my website, bodylogos.com, that's BODYLOGOS, on the landing page, there's a free video. It's an 8-minute video on how to release tension. So surrender tension in 8 minutes. And once you learn it, it takes even less than 8 minutes. But the 8 minutes is to help you understand what's actually happening. And so they could start there. This is one of the exercises or one of the videos that is a part of the book. The book is a book video learning system. There's 15 videos that come with the book. So in the book, there's a link that will bring you to a library of videos. And it's all to help you learn this process of streaming energy through the body so you connect to what I might call the real World Wide Web versus the computer grid.
Well, Tammy, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thanks for having me again. Yes.
Well, thank you, Tammy. It has been such an honor to spend this time with you and, of course, to talk about your new book, The Art of Strength. Sculpt the Body, Train the Mind. The Art of Strength is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and select indie retailers. And if you don't see it on the shelf, ask for them to order it. Again, if you'd like to connect with Tammy, you can at bodylogos.com for more information. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just what moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Friday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.